this year. So what does she do? She does what any spoiled kid does when they're not getting enough attention. She lashed out.
React quickly. The spotlight is an unforgiving place. When you demand the attention of the entire sporting world, when you actively court the cameras and the headlines, you better be ready to back it up when the whistle blows. But what happens when the generational talent narrative hits a massive, undeniable brick wall of actual fundamental basketball? What happens when the reality of the game refuses to cooperate with the marketing campaign? We are watching a masterclass in deflection, but the tape is starting to tell a very different story.
See, when Caitlin Clark shoots 3 for 13, we're missing shots from 30 feet. When Caitlin Clark has a bad shooting night, we're getting guarded full court and we're missing threes. When Angel Reese has a bad shooting day, she's not getting guarded at all and we're missing.
This is the double standard that is currently fracturing basketball media, and it is happening right in front of our eyes. We are watching a fascinating, almost unbelievable real-time experiment in how sports networks and commentators cover their newly crowned superstars. When certain players struggle, when someone like Caitlin Clark has an off night, the narrative instantly shifts to the suffocating defensive pressure she faces, the lack of spacing from her teammates, or the sheer undeniable exhaustion of a grueling, unprecedented rookie schedule. The analysts meticulously break down the defensive schemes, but when you look at the tape from the Chicago Sky's recent matchup, those convenient excuses evaporate completely. We aren't talking about heavily contested perimeter shots. We aren't talking about brilliant defensive traps designed by veteran coaches to shut down a primary scoring threat. We are talking about something much more concerning for a player who demands MVP-level respect and constant media adulation. The issue isn't simply that she had a bad shooting night. Every professional athlete on earth has bad shooting nights. The issue is the bizarre, uncoordinated mechanics behind those misses. But the part that should actually bother you, the part that proves how broken this conversation has become, comes later. When we look at how the league and the media are actively trying to distract you from the disaster classes happening right under the basket.
We got rolling. What we got rolling? Angel Reese, mouse in the house.
Oh,
over the
easy.
top. Easy. Bloopy.
Ooh.
Damn.
Let's actually break down the tape, because the tape does not care about your public relations strategy. In basketball, having a mouse in the house means a bigger, stronger offensive player has a smaller defender pinned deep in the paint. It is the most advantageous position you can ask for as a post player. It is supposed to be automatic. You catch the entry pass, you keep the ball high, you finish over the top, or you use a simple drop step to seal the defender. Instead, what we are witnessing is a shocking lack of basic finishing ability. The ball goes up, the ball comes down, and the rim is missed entirely. And this is not an isolated incident. If you have been tracking the lowlights, the blown plays, a severe pattern emerges. The narrative surrounding this rookie class is that they are walking into the league ready to dominate from day one. But dominance in the paint requires touch, it requires disciplined footwork, and it requires an advanced understanding of angles. When you consistently miss uncontested or lightly contested layups right at the cylinder, it raises serious questions about the development pipeline. How does a player reach the highest professional level of women's basketball without mastering the most fundamental shot in the sport? The problem is that criticizing this lack of skill has become a total minefield. You aren't allowed to simply observe that a player blew a wide-open layup. You have to couch it in layers of apologies and caveats, or else you face the wrath of a fan base that is vastly more interested in social media personalities than actual field goal percentages.
No. Show us these. No. Don't get away from that.
Oh yeah, let's see.
One more time, shall we?
Yeah, let's shall. We shall.
Oh my God. Reese again.
It becomes physically difficult to watch. When you are positioned right under the basket, generating multiple offensive rebounds simply because you keep missing your own point-blank putbacks, it certainly pads the stat sheet, but it does absolutely nothing to help the team win basketball games. Casual viewers and diehard fans alike are starting to notice. The massive disconnect between the corporate hype machine and the on-court reality is causing a rupture in the basketball community. You have prominent voices genuinely arguing that high rebounding numbers automatically equate to superstar status, completely ignoring the fact that a significant portion of those rebounds are generated by incredibly inefficient, chaotic offense. There is a very real, necessary conversation to be had about the difference between a high-volume player and a highly efficient player. In the modern game, efficiency is the only currency that matters. If you are shooting 3 for 13 from inside the painted area, you are actively destroying your team's offensive rating. You are ending crucial possessions with empty, frustrating trips. But instead of an honest breakdown of shooting splits and true shooting percentages on the major networks, the discourse gets derailed. And it gets derailed purposefully. Because if we spend all our airtime analyzing the sloppy footwork, the complete lack of a reliable jump hook, or the inability to finish with the non-dominant hand, the illusion starts to fade fast. The marketing campaign hits a massive speed bump. So what happens when the product on the court cannot sustain the superstar narrative? You have to forcefully change the subject.
WNBA will be changing both to kindergarten level for her next game. How can I distract from this? I know. Tell everyone that Sandy Brondello made a racist comment. That's...
Deflection is a highly effective tool. When the official box score exposes your fundamental flaws, you create a massive fire elsewhere to draw the cameras away. The recent media drama involving New York Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello is a textbook example of this survival strategy. Brondello simply pointed out the obvious, making a standard basketball observation about the officiating and the physical nature of the interior game. It was a routine post-game comment, the exact kind of critique you hear in every professional league, from the NBA to the NFL, every single night. But in this hypersensitive, narrative-driven environment, a purely basketball-related critique was instantly twisted, manipulated, and weaponized into wild allegations of racism and bias. This is the ultimate shield for a struggling player. If you can successfully convince the public that your critics are operating from a place of malice or bigotry, you never have to answer for shooting 25% from the field. You never have to sit at a podium and explain why you are routinely missing wide-open layups against undersized defenders. The conversation instantly shifts from why your true shooting percentage is so poor to why the league is allegedly treating you so unfairly. It is a brilliant, highly cynical public relations maneuver. It forces analysts, commentators, and even rival coaches to constantly walk on eggshells. Nobody wants to be labeled the villain on social media, so the legitimate criticism gets heavily watered down. The standard of athletic excellence is quietly lowered across the board. We stop demanding fundamental greatness and start accepting manufactured drama as a cheap substitute for athletic achievement. But true basketball fans see right through the smoke. You cannot gaslight an audience that has functioning eyes. When a player goes out and puts up a generational stinker of a performance, no amount of off-court controversy or press conference theatrics can permanently erase that game tape. The numbers are etched into the official record. And the numbers from that Chicago game tell a glaring story of a player who is vastly struggling to adapt to the speed, length, and defensive discipline of the professional game.
Angel Reese did it. Angel Reese blows the layup per usual, and then with her classic move, cries and undercuts Elizabeth Williams, claiming she was fouled.
This specific sequence is perhaps the most defining moment of the entire game, and maybe the entire season. It perfectly encapsulates everything frustrating about the current state of the WNBA discourse. Let's break down the exact anatomy of this play. You have a blown layup, which is again a remarkably common occurrence at this point. But it is the reaction to the missed shot that demands intense scrutiny. Instead of immediately sprinting back on defense to stop the transition, instead of fighting through the play like a professional, we see a blatant, dangerous undercut of Elizabeth Williams, followed immediately by a dramatic appeal to the referees. This is exactly where the integrity of the game is violently tested. Undercutting an airborne player is universally recognized as one of the most dangerous plays in the sport of basketball. It ends seasons. It ruins entire careers. When a defender establishes legal position and goes straight up to successfully contest a shot, they have an absolute right to land safely on the hardwood. Kicking a leg out, falling awkwardly into the defender's landing space, and desperately trying to draw a cheap foul is not just bad basketball, it is highly reckless behavior. Yet because of the massive aura and marketing dollars surrounding certain players, the whistle often blows inexplicably in their favor. The referees, whether consciously or subconsciously, feel the immense weight of the narrative. They protect the marquee names, even when those exact names are the ones initiating the illegal contact and creating the dangerous situations on the floor. If a standard rotational player, an undrafted free agent fighting tooth and nail for a roster spot, made that exact same dangerous play, they would be hit with an immediate offensive foul, possibly upgraded to a flagrant, and they would be sitting at the very end of the bench for the rest of the quarter. But the rigid rules of the game seem to magically bend for the chosen few. This creates deep, lingering resentment in the locker room and around the league. Veterans who have spent years perfecting their craft, playing the game the right way, and earning their stripes watch in utter disbelief as fundamental rules are completely ignored just to prop up a television storyline. It actively undermines the competitive balance of the entire league.
Defender goes straight up and down. Angel kicks her right leg out of nothing between the defender's legs, then falls into her. This should have been an offensive foul. She's just proving Sandy's point. Refs protecting her, letting her do BS. Wow.
The tape simply does not lie. The defender goes straight up and down. That is textbook verticality. This is exactly how you are taught to defend the paint from the very first moment you start playing organized youth basketball. You absorb the contact with your chest. You keep your arms completely straight up, and you force the offensive player to shoot a difficult shot over your length. The offensive player, completely unable to gain an advantage through actual skill or elevation, immediately resorts to flailing. The right leg kicks out unnaturally. The body violently contorts. It is a completely manufactured collision, specifically designed to trick the official into bailing them out. And incredibly, it works. The whistle blows, and the offensive player gets heavily rewarded for a garbage play. This is the exact type of basketball that drives purists away from the screen. We tune in to see world-class skill. We want to see elite footwork, incredibly high basketball IQ, and players definitively beating their opponents through sheer talent and execution. We absolutely do not want to see a disjointed free throw shooting contest born out of excessive flopping and highly dangerous closeouts. When the referees consistently allow this to happen, they are not protecting the player, they are actively enabling terrible habits. They are broadcasting a clear message that you don't need to spend hours in the gym refining your post-game. You just need to know how to aggressively sell a fake call. This ties back directly to the deflection tactics we broke down earlier. If you are thoroughly struggling to score efficiently from the floor, generating cheap points at the free throw line is the only possible way to keep your overall scoring average looking respectable to the casual fan. It perfectly masks the underlying gross inefficiency. A box score that reads 12 points looks decent on a graphic, until you dig in and realize it took 13 badly missed field goal attempts and a handful of highly questionable referee-assisted trips to the charity stripe to get there. The deeper you look into the advanced metrics and the actual game tape, the more the superstar facade aggressively begins to crack and crumble.
We got a wide open. How do we roll our ankle when there's absolutely nobody near us? Like, how uncoordinated what must you be to roll your ankle when there's literally nobody near you?
And then we finally reach the absolute climax of the disaster. A wide open look. Zero defensive pressure in the vicinity. No one within any reasonable contesting distance. Just a highly paid professional basketball player, the basket, and the hardwood floor. And somehow, defying all logic, it results in a rolled ankle and another completely blown opportunity. Look, nobody wants to see any athlete get injured. Injuries are the absolute worst part of professional sports, and we always hope for a speedy full recovery. But from a purely analytical, basketball-focused standpoint, we have to honestly ask how this even happens. It entirely comes down to basic coordination, foundational balance, and total body control. Elite professional athletes possess a highly refined kinetic awareness that allows them to smoothly navigate tight spaces, absorb heavy contact, and land safely in traffic. When you are rolling an ankle in completely open space while attempting a basic uncontested finish at the rim, it highlights a shockingly severe lack of fundamental body mechanics. It is the perfect visual representation of the phrase, playing entirely out of control. This is exactly what happens when raw athleticism and intense media hype are prioritized over actual tedious skill development. You get players who can run fast and play hard, but who totally lack the foundational techniques required to execute simple basketball actions consistently. The concept of using your inside foot and outside hand on a layup is universally taught at the middle school level. It is specifically designed to protect the basketball from the trailing defender and provide a stable balanced base on the launch. Ignoring these extremely basic principles at the highest professional level isn't just inefficient, it is a massive glaring liability. It directly leads to unforced turnovers, countless missed points, and as we clearly saw in this exact play, totally unnecessary self-inflicted injuries. The game at this level is simply too incredibly fast and too unforgiving to rely solely on raw, unpolished effort. You desperately need polish. And right now, the polish is completely missing from the equation.
Angel Reese, 3 for 13. 8 points, 5 boards. Ouchie. Wow. Wow, tell us, Angel, what are you?
My dog, you can't teach that.
Dang!
3 for 13. 3 made field goals on 13 total attempts. Those are the cold, hard, entirely undeniable facts of the game. You can passionately argue about the media coverage all day. You can debate the refereeing until you are blue in the face, and you can point fingers at opposing coaches during the post-game pressers. But you cannot argue with the official box score. 3 for 13 from a front-court player who takes the vast majority of their shots inside the restricted area is objectively mathematically terrible. It is a statistical anchor actively dragging down the entire team's offensive efficiency rating. And yes, the rebounds are technically there on the stat sheet, but we have to actually contextualize how those rebounds are acquired. If you severely miss a layup, grab your own rebound, miss the follow-up, grab it again, and finally manage to get fouled, you have just recorded 2 offensive rebounds on a single, thoroughly disastrous possession. It artificially inflates the raw statistics. It creates a complete statistical mirage of dominance. You certainly can't teach height, and you can't teach raw effort, but you absolutely must be able to teach a professional how to reliably put the basketball in the cylinder. The vastly broader issue here is exactly how the culture of basketball discourse violently responds to these factual numbers. Pointing out a disastrous 3 for 13 shooting performance is not hateful. Analyzing 3 unforced turnovers is not racially insensitive. It is basic, standard sports commentary. It is the exact same level of intense scrutiny applied to every major professional athlete in the world. LeBron James gets ruthlessly criticized when he shoots poorly on national television. Patrick Mahomes gets thoroughly dissected when he throws bad interceptions. Caitlin Clark gets analyzed under a microscope when she struggles with full-court pressure. Demanding that Angel Reese be entirely immune to this standard is the ultimate disrespect to her as a professional athlete. It treats her with patronizing kid gloves. It heavily suggests she cannot handle the immense heat of the kitchen she fought so incredibly hard to enter. If you loudly demand the crown, you have to be strong enough to carry the immense weight that comes with it. You cannot demand the national spotlight, sign the massive endorsement deals, and constantly drive the cultural conversation, only to desperately hide behind serious allegations of bias the very moment your jump hook doesn't fall. The game is ultimately played on the hardwood, not in the comments section of social media. The rim is exactly 10 feet high, the ball is round, and the final numbers tell the absolute unfiltered truth. So, are we going to continue making endless excuses, blaming the referees, and crying foul at every piece of honest critique? Or are we going to finally expect our highly touted professionals to hit a wide-open layup? The choice is yours. Drop your thoughts below, hit that subscribe button, and let me know where you stand on the reality of the box score.